How's it going, sports fans? My name is Joe Turo and welcome to another Vodoir Sports and Lockdown. This week we are going to be debating the battle of the overrated 11s. But before we get into it, let's go over last week's results. Team Davo, you took a beating, and Team Murph took all 3 points. Meaning, Murph, you get 3 points. Joe, you get 1 point. And Allo, you get 1 point. However, it's been revealed that there's been a bit of tampering with the voting system. Joe confessed to using a second account. So, Joe, you're not going to be getting any points this week. And I'm actually going to give 1 point to the other team.
Yes!
An outrage. What an outrage.
Any more revelations that you've been tampering with the voting system, you will get a points deduction.
It would have been a draw. It would was very
close as it was.
Yeah.
It's on screen now. It's probably about 53-47. But Murph, you still got stinker of the week, so you're only on 1 point.
We can
make it free.
Let's get into this week then. George, I'll start with you. You are our first team captain. Do you want to introduce your team for us?
Yes, so I've got Matt Davidson with me and a very special guest, John Palmer.
Welcome, John. It's good to have you here.
Welcome, John.
Thanks for inviting me.
And Ollie, as the only player not to have been a captain yet, your turn is now. Who's on your team?
Well, I've got a brilliant team this week. I'm delighted with it. I've got Jack Murphy, who is known for the stinker of the week, so hopefully he doesn't get it this week. And I've also got Joe Bourne, who will do no tampering this week, I can assure you, Tiz.
Well, pressure's on. So, Team Wado, battle of the overrated 11s. I'm going to start with you, as you have not been captain yet. So, far away, position and player.
Right. I want you two to have a bit of input on this one. So, I want both of you to say who's your most overrated player in your opinion.
Just completely, just like
just go for it. Your players each.
Okay, Murph, do you want to do the honours, mate?
It's either Tyrone Mings or Harry Winks.
All time.
Mate, I haven't watched too much football before like 2004.
I'll take over from here.
Go on, you go for it.
Go on then.
I reckon if you take into consideration the price tag, if you take into consideration the impact he had on the team when he moved, and this is a big controversial one to start with, but we love the controversy here at Vodoir Sports. I reckon Fernando Torres.
Ooh.
I'll tell you why.
I'm not gonna disagree actually.
Yeah,
argue.
Obviously, awesome player at Liverpool. Did absolute bits for a couple of seasons, but when he had the chance to prove it himself at a bigger club, he
Can't call Chelsea
at the time, Chelsea were the bigger club at the time in terms of league position, etc. He had the chance to shine. His attitude dipped, and so did his form. He scored 20 goals in 110 games for Chelsea, which is just not good enough. For a £50 million price tag, which is, of course, at the time, the British record for the transfers. So I think he's got to get in there.
He was injured, wasn't he? Picked up a knee injury at Liverpool.
Yeah, he was never quite the same after his... he picked up one knee injury and wasn't the same again.
I don't think one injury, though, can be an excuse for 6 years of poor performances in the Premier League. Obviously, I know he had wonders in the Champions League when he scored against Barcelona, but he's got to get in the team, hasn't he?
I think his years at Liverpool kind of outdo his years at Chelsea for me. Like how good he was at Liverpool. He was one of the best strikers the Prem's ever seen. Like for 3-4 years at Liverpool, and I think even though he had 5-6 bad years at Chelsea, well, not even that long. And he's like you said, he scored that goal in the Champions League. He scored important goals for Chelsea.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Champions League. We're talking about Premier League.
You mentioned Champions League earlier, mate.
I know, but that's... Go on, Wade.
I think what I need to get out the way is the definition of overrated. So what I've written down is a number of things. So how inconsistent these big name players were. I think that's a big thing to put in. Looking at the lack of variety they had in their game. Did Torres have a lack of variety? I don't think he did.
No.
And then
Chelsea didn't have anything.
And then you've got to look at the transfer fees. So Torres does go into that category. Did he live up to the expectation of that transfer fee? No, he didn't. So there is a big argument with Torres. It's difficult, very difficult. Murph, I'm guessing you completely disagree with that.
I mean, like I said earlier, but then there is bias on my side because he is even now he's still known as like a Liverpool legend, like second to Suarez is one of the best strikers we've ever had. So it's hard for me to put a decision on it. Really.
I know it's hard for you, Murph, but for the sake of the loyal Vodoir fans, I think you need to put bias aside for one episode.
Because of his time at Chelsea and even his time at Atletico Madrid after he moved after that, then yes, I'll agree on Torres because of his money, like his price tag. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is, because we've got 2 strikers to pick from, I'm going to either pick Nicholas Anelka or Andy Carroll here. So I think, in my opinion, they're both extremely overrated.
I had Andy Carroll written down, but I definitely wouldn't say Nicholas Anelka was overrated. Definitely not.
I would agree with that.
Definitely not.
I don't think Nicholas Anelka was overrated.
No, definitely not.
He was unbelievable
He
back in the
for
day.
multiple seasons. The guy was unreal.
No, he scored 38 goals in 125 games for a top club. If that doesn't define overrated, Murph,
Andy Carroll was definitely more overrated.
Right, well, I'm going to have to hurry you, Wade. You've got the
Andy
final
Carroll,
pick.
please. Cheers.
Andy Carroll is your first striker after all that deliberation.
Of Torres.
So we didn't even
Newcastle
mention
striker
Andy
goes in.
Carroll, and he slots straight in.
Team Allo, you now need a striker to match that.
Right, so we're going to go from, they're talking about Fernando Torres, one of the best strikers in Premier League history. We're now going to talk about someone who's actually overrated.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Kelechi Iheanacho. I don't know if the two of you have got any others that you want to throw in, but I just think he was obviously at Man City, young striker. He was meant to be the next big thing for City. He did well, I think, at City, but obviously, it didn't work out. He went to Leicester, and I don't think he's done much since he's been at Leicester. Still young.
I think he's a good shout. George.
Someone-
When I think, I just got a couple of names that I want to mention early on, see what you two think. But players that arrived with a massive reputation and then couldn't quite do it in the Premier League, I think, have been overrated. And there's been a lot of them that haven't been able to cut it in England. But for the money spent, I think Crespo was a bit of a waste of money at Chelsea, considering the reputation he came with, and also Shevchenko probably came a little bit too late,
Shevchenko's a
and
great
his
shout.
legs have gone a little bit. But if you look at his career and what people expected from him when he came, he was a massive disappointment. But I think his legs have gone a little bit, and I think Torres was brilliant for Liverpool, and he just never recovered that at Chelsea, did he? He was never the same player due to that injury. I don't think it was quite sad watching his decline because he was so electric at Liverpool. But Iheanacho is a good shout as well. I think his reputation far exceeds his ability.
Matt?
Yeah, so 2 I had down. I had Balotelli when he made the move to Liverpool. He was all right at City, but when he came to Liverpool, he was shocking. And another one I've got as well is based on players that have had potential. So started their career off well when they were younger and then kind of didn't really fill up to their potential. And that was Danny Welbeck. He was quality in Man United and kind of just dipped off the radar for a very long time.
I would argue that he was still god-awful at Man United. I watched a game yesterday, City versus United back in 2011. He was just a donkey. He was terrible. It was
one of his first few years. I think he was coming onto the scene and he was scoring a few goals. But I like Shevchenko as well. I think Shevchenko is a great shout.
Yeah.
Welbeck's never done it consistently well, has he? He's shown flashes of it, and he's frustrating because same with England. He'll do something absolutely unbelievable, and then he'll just look awful in the next game.
I remember he scored a back heel against Ukraine or Sweden at the Euros in 2012, and I was like, oh, Welbeck, yeah.
Yeah, he's not quite fulfilled it, has he?
Inconsistent, didn't live up to
But I don't think his reputation is huge. I don't think people think he's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think he's maybe a little bit overrated, but I think people have been consistently frustrated with him and not fulfilling that potential.
George?
Carroll's one of the biggest wastes of money in Premier League history, without any doubt. So fair play to the other group for naming him.
Yeah, that's my reason.
50 million for absolute camel.
George, final decision lies with you.
I like Shevchenko.
No. I did like Welbeck, but like John said, he's not really rated
Wasn't
anyway.
as overrated, yeah.
Crespo and Shevchenko are both great shouts.
Hmm.
Crespo, the thing is with Crespo is he still could do it when he came to Chelsea. He still went to AC Milan. He was still at AC Milan banging them in like.
Yeah. Diego Forlan's another one that came a bit like Crespo with a massive reputation and just didn't quite happen for him in the Premier League. But then he went on to do well at other clubs. But I put him in the same bracket as Crespo and Shevchenko. Big money, big reputation, done well at other clubs, and just found it difficult to adjust.
I think we'll go with Shevchenko then.
Oh, I'm happy with that.
Shevchenko, Ukraine legend. To be fair, I remember he scored at Euro 2012. So he's now like a politician in Ukraine, I think. So, but Team Allo, you have the next pick as well. So pick a position. Your turn to start the round.
My strongest position is goalkeeper, because I think I've got two names. First one, John might be able to help me with this, because a former Cheltenham Town loanee, Jack Butland. I think he had so much potential when he was young, and I think he's obviously never really fulfilled it. He was meant to be should be England's number one right now, but playing in the Championship. So he's probably my number one shout. I also had Adrian, but not so sure about Adrian.
Amazing thing about Butland, he played for England before he made his first team debut at Birmingham. So he'd only ever played first team football for Cheltenham, and they got his England debut. So that shows how highly rated he was as a youngster. And he was not linked with a lot of moves, wasn't he? Arsenal, other clubs. He stayed at Stoke, and it seems to have gone downhill. As Stoke have gone downhill, he seems to have struggled as well. But he's definitely not. He's still got time, but at the moment he's not quite turned out to be as top a keeper as people thought he was going to be. The one that sprung to mind for me for keeper was Barthez. Won the World Cup at France. Was one of the ones that was due to replace Schmeichel, and he was diabolical when he came to England. Reputation was huge. So Adrian is probably, had a few disappointing games, but he didn't come in as a world beater like Barthez did.
Yeah.
Matt, you got any suggestions there?
Goalie wise, I'd probably agree with. Yeah, I'd go Butland or Barthez. There was another position I wanted to get in, because there's someone that I think is the most overrated player in football in midfield, but we'll say that.
Well, Allo, are you sure you want to lock in goalkeeper, or
if you're confident about it, we'll do it.
Allo, I've never despised a footballer and thought they were more overrated in my life than this man.
Who is it?
Mesut Ozil. He was unbelievable at Real Madrid, and he's a World Cup winner. But in the Premier League, he has been shocking.
I don't think
he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
Been
I think he has. I think he's arguably.
I'd agree with you there, Dave.
Yeah,
He was on par to beat the all-time assist record, and then had Giroud up front. Like, he was so close.
Giroud is an underrated player.
Giroud is an underrated player.
Right.
His work rate is shocking, and he has quality, but he just doesn't seem like he wants to use it. Big money signing, didn't do anywhere near as well as he should have at Arsenal.
I think we'll come back to Ozil. I'm going to go with Butland just based on the potential he had. I think he should have probably done better. He's still obviously probably in his prime years now, but I think he should be England's number one now. So I'm going to say Butland. But we'll come back to Ozil.
Butland goes in at goalkeeper. Well, it took us ages to get rid of the goalkeeper last week, but this week we're getting rid of him straight away. Team Wado, who do you want between the sticks?
Let's capitalise, Wade. Barthez. I would have said Barthez anyway. He came to United. 7 million. He was the world record British fee for a keeper at that time. He did well in his first season, but obviously his honeymoon period came to an end when he started making some very high-profile mistakes. Strikers could kind of read his game by that point, and he just really didn't fill the boots of Schmeichel. I think United's keeper woes only came to an end when we signed Van der Sar in 2005. So,
I don't have many arguments for goal. I don't even know who Barthez is. I think that's
He's the bold one.
Actually, I have no idea. Murph, you
The
got any?
divine bold one. was what
So
they called
Vaughan
him.
mentioned he was the most expensive keeper at the time. I think it's the most expensive keeper right now, and that's Kepa. He is 72 million, I think Chelsea paid for.
Yeah.
And I think he's had his first season, he was okay. And then ever since he disagreed with Conte on the touchline and demanded to be on the pitch, made two mistakes in that shootout alone, and then he went on to get dropped.
Nah, he saved a penalty in that shootout.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He saved one.
I remember he let to the left.
No. He had a really good penalty shootout. That was the hard part about it. Yes, it was. Yes, he did.
And then
I'm a Chelsea fan. You're arguing with the wrong person.
Tiz, I'm talking. And then he gets dropped for Willy Caballero. Right now, it's a joke. 72 million. A keeper should
I'm going to void your argument because you said he argued with Conte on the sideline, but Conte had left a year earlier.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think Boss says
2 million.
Right. I do agree with Murph, actually.
Again.
I'll tell you someone else who I think's overrated as a keeper. I don't know if I should be chipping in here because we've already named our keeper.
Go on,
but
JP.
Joe Hart's always rated himself more highly than he actually is, and he's so old school now compared to the likes of Kepa and Ederson, Alisson. He's miles behind, but at one point he was seen as being the next big thing, a bit like Butland, and I think he was never as good as he was made out to be, for my opinion, Joe Hart. But
As soon as
That's
Guardiola
the bad bunch of
I felt a bit sorry for Joe Hart.
I was reluctant to
City.
mentioning him, yeah.
Guardiola came in, pretty much said he couldn't play with his feet, booted him out.
he couldn't.
signed Bravo straight away.
Throw
didn't he?
confidence as a goalie is probably one of the most important things.
Yeah, massively.
I think he still had a few good years at City, though. When they won the league, I think he was still a decent keeper. It's just he didn't live up to his expectations.
I
Right.
thought on his day he was a fabulous keeper, wasn't he?
On tactics wise here, I'm going to go with Kepa.
Kepa for Team Wado. Big money signing for Chelsea is in at goalkeeper, and you've now got the next pick as well. So we're anywhere on the pitch.
Vaughan, I'll let you go for it because you weren't.
No, it's all right. Murph clearly has the upper hand in this one, Wade. Go ahead.
Oh, you're actually letting me. All right.
Yeah, I'll let him go.
One player for right mid that I think never lived up to his potential, Theo Walcott. I think from when he was a youngster, came from Southampton to Arsenal, he was tipped to be the next big thing, and I think that was the ultimate reason he never lived up to his potential. He never changed. He never got past that stage of when he was a youngster. He's just played the same level his whole career. Hasn't moved on. Now he's at Everton, and he's.
One thing about Walcott is I think he's always seen as he's still a youngster, he's always 16.
Yeah.
Like Lingard.
Jesse Lingard, isn't he? Lingard effect.
He was in the World Cup squad when he was 16, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's the same as Butland. It's the same as Butland, really.
I think really around big tournaments, the English media have a tendency of overhyping our younger players, don't they? So I definitely think Walcott falls in the category of being under media scrutiny, but I think he definitely belongs in that right mid position. So I would agree with that, Wade.
I've only got one more. I have got Walcott on my list, but I had one more person, and that's he's more of a winger, but it's Willian for Chelsea. I think he's awful. I think he's just not a great footballer.
I really like Willian.
30
I think
goals,
Willian's
240 games as a winger is horrific.
No, he's class. I think Willian's
He's
class.
not class at all, Born. He's
He
terrible.
is. He is class.
I'm going to put in Walcott, please.
Walcott at the right mid. Yeah.
What about Di Maria, George? For he was poor at United, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he came again with a huge reputation and had done it in other countries, but just didn't settle. Didn't do anything for United, really, did he?
Yeah. He did that nice chip against Leicester, I remember, and that was actually it.
That was about it.
It was a lovely goal.
Are we doing 2 per team?
Yes. Sorry, I've got to remember that. 2 per team. If there's crossovers, we'll go with the club they spent most of their time with.
I'm going to get 2 players per team. All right. I'm happy with that, though, to be fair. I think you have to go Di Maria. Put down right wing.
Di Maria on the right?
Yeah.
Do you have it as well, George? Hudson-Odoi? I think it's a bit harsh because he hasn't actually played that much yet.
Didn't cost anything either.
Yeah. But only because of his, what do you say, his stats, isn't it? It's 1 goal.
The one Premier League
26.
goal.
I agree.
Harsh.
With you.
To what, like 21?
He's not even that. He's like 18.
Yeah, I'd go Di Maria.
Yeah. Di Maria.
Andros Townsend deserves a mention, but I don't think he's in the same league as Di Maria.
Yeah.
Di Maria at right mid is your pick, and you've got another pick. So any defenders, pretty much any midfielders as well.
Okay. We're going to centre of defence. I've only really got one name, which is Otamendi.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Ooh, Otamendi's better than John Stones, though, isn't he?
Do you think?
Yeah, John Stones. I think John Stones was ahead of his time, but now there's so many good footballing centre halves. I think he's suddenly become a little bit down the pecking order. I think Stones is, for me, the most overrated player at City. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I think he was. Loads of people have been called the next John Stones or the Welsh John Stones and things like that. But most Premier League centre halves can play a little bit now, and I think he's not as good at the other stuff. So Stones for me is the most overrated centre half. But Otamendi's got a bit of criticism this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a
Rash
mistake in it.
decisions.
Yeah, but I think Stones has got to be up there. But
I think
your
John
Stones
Stones.
cost
what do you
him.
think?
Yeah, I think Stones gets overrated more as well because he's English, and because
Yeah.
it's that the whole like English centre half, and he could be the one to take us forward when he was younger.
Yeah.
I think because Otamendi's Argentinian, obviously not as known as John Stones is. I think people tend to praise Stones a bit more.
Think back to the World Cup. It was Maguire, wasn't it, who was holding things together at the back rather than Stones.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
Bringing it out nicely as well.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I had, but I'm not sure. That's a tough pick.
Another old one that you lot might not remember very much, but when Barthez came in, Laurent Blanc also came in, having won the World Cup for France, and he was old and he struggled. He couldn't move anymore. But for an older one, he's worth a mention, Blanc. But as a World Cup winner, United also had a defender called William Prunier, who was terrible, but he didn't really have a good reputation either. So,
George?
You pick Aloe. I can't.
To be honest, I'm leaning towards Stones now, actually.
Go
What
who
would
do
you
you
go
think
for?
gets who gets raved about more, Stones or Otamendi? Do you think?
I'd say Stones. Like Matt said, because he's English, he gets more hype.
I don't think he's awful, but I just don't think he's anywhere near as good as he's made out to be.
I think Guardiola tends to play Otamendi more than Stones as well. I know Stones has been injured
I think
recently, but
Stones has lost his complete trust.
yeah, I think Guardiola tends to go with Otamendi more. But I think Stones is still rated higher by everyone else.
Yeah.
What do you go for, Matt?
I'd go Stones.
All right, we'll go Stones.
Stones is your first centre back, and Team Wader, you have the chance to respond.
This is tough. I was going to go with Stones.
One name. Go on, Word.
No, I've got two names that I want to pop out. One's David Luiz.
Yeah, I had that.
I don't know so much. Like, I don't know if did he have hype before he moved to Chelsea the first time?
No.
Brazilian.
He was at Benfica the first time.
Yeah.
Brazilian cost a lot. Well,
Yeah,
cost a bit.
I remember he had a lot of hype. Came from Benfica, didn't he?
His first about Chelsea, though, I thought he was good. He won the Champions League with them. And then he went to PSG.
Watch
and
it-
he got
very
nutmegged by
sorry.
Suarez and he just went down.
He's not centre back.
Watch a clip of David Luiz against Cardiff in 13-14. That's all I'll say. Watch a clip. It's atrocious.
And then
David Luiz, he just ventured forward way too much. I've never seen such bad positioning from a centre back. He got caught off guard like so often. He's a massive liability. I would say easily David Luiz is
I
one of the
think
His
Yeah,
combined transfer fee is huge as well.
his
Yeah,
transfer fees and
yeah.
how inconsistent he is. I think he goes right into that category. I've also got Lovren, who from Southampton he was great at Southampton. To be fair, went to Liverpool and didn't live up to it.
I don't think he's
just no
rated
one rates
highly,
him
though.
anymore.
Yeah, everyone says he's
Everyone,
awful.
yeah, he's. I mean, like the one game he started this season, I think he started 2, and one of the games he started, we lost 3-0 to Watford. So, but then I don't think he's overrated because I don't think anyone rates him. I had David Luiz and Tyrone Mings down.
We've got to
Tyrone
put David Luiz in, haven't we?
As much as I hate Villa, Tyrone Mings, I think it's harsh to call him overrated already.
Yeah, he's young, yeah.
I think that's harsh. So I am going to David Luiz first, Tiz.
David Luiz is your first centre-back pick. And what do you want to go to next?
Who did you say was young?
What was that, Alan?
Who did they say was young?
Mings.
Oh, is he?
I don't know.
He's come from nowhere, Mings, hasn't he? He's come from nowhere and he stepped up. He's playing for Chippenham Town a few years ago, so his reputation has gradually built. But I thought he did well on his England debut, considering what stick he was getting from
I think
fans.
that's harsh. Yeah.
He's 27.
Learning his trade in the Premier League still, isn't he?
He's 27. Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, I thought it was like
Very,
23.
very young in football league terms, I think.
Yeah.
Well, professional football terms, he's pretty young.
I remember when Bournemouth signed him and he picked up an injury quite early on. And then he had that.
Dad played for Gloucester City. AD Mings.
I remember Bobby mentioning that.
Good player, actually.
Where do you
Big
want to
striker.
Right, guys, I'll let you two.
Should we go centre of the park? No one's really gone near there yet, have they?
Well, I do like Dave's shout of Ozil.
I very much like that shout
Hello,
of
I can't
Ozil
believe
as well.
he's not going.
High profile, so the Vodoir fans will see that and tactics here. But I do think that Ozil is massively overrated. I would agree with Dave. I know on his day he can be a spectacular player, but he just hasn't been that spectacular player that Arsenal paid that massive price tag for. So
it is a shame because I think he started well at Arsenal and he did lift them, and then he just.
He should be in his prime now, shouldn't he? He's not even that old. These are his prime years, and he's just fallen off the wagon these past 2 or 3 seasons.
Very lazy, very inconsistent, and doesn't show talent enough.
I think his prime was more 2014 when Germany won the World Cup. That was his prime for me, and then that's when he was good for Arsenal as well. And like you said, last 5 years for Arsenal, he has been dreadful.
That's the thing with
exactly.
overrated.
5 years is just
He's been living off that World Cup win, hasn't he? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was more when Wenger signed him. Everyone was like, he came from Real Madrid. He was just a credible player. 2-3 great years. Nearly broke the assist record. And then since Wenger left, well, before that as well, he's just been awful. Awful play. He doesn't fit Arsenal's fast ticky-tacky play anymore. He has the occasional great game against the big club, but then it's not worth the 40 million they paid.
I don't even think he does have a great game.
I think
he's just completely past it.
Yeah, I think it is harsh, Tiz, and I think he is on his day world class. But I think Ozil for
Ozil is going in. Do you want him at centre mid? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put him at, can we put him at left mid, or do you want to save that left?
No, centre mid.
No, you just said you'd accept him at left mid. He has played left mid for Arsenal.
He's not a left midfielder.
I'm from
Ozil's
Real
going
Madrid.
at centre mid.
Yeah.
So, Davo, you missed out there.
I'm fuming, to be honest with you.
When we mentioned him, they all started going, "Oh no!"
No, I didn't. I said I agree. The first thing I said, Alan.
Yeah, he did.
I'll be watching the footage back.
Hello. Tactic.
Well,
You'll be on Stinker of the Week for that, Alan.
Who do you want to fill the gap with now?
I've got a good centre midfielder that I think is completely overrated. Has anyone heard of Thomas Gravison?
I recognise that name.
Everton had 2 skinheads centre mid, Lee Carsley and Thomas Gravison. Right, they seem to work quite well together under Moyes. And then Gravison got a move to Real Madrid off the back of his form for Everton, but they signed the wrong one because they wanted to hold him midfielder. But Carsley did all the dirty work. Gravison actually turned out to be absolutely awful. Because they both looked the same, I think people thought he was doing twice as much work. So he was one from the mid 2000s that was completely overrated. And Carsley, who's a good player, I think was underrated. But I think Gravison Danish international, was completely overrated. But so he was one that I just wanted to bring from the mid 2000s. He got to move to Real Madrid because they probably thought he was someone else.
Love it.
That's quite a good story, to be fair. George, what do you make of that one?
Yeah, I like that. I was more like recent. I had Lingard just because I feel like he's, like we mentioned earlier, people still think he's young, and that he's got more potential, but he's in his prime now, and he's not exactly setting the world alight.
I think everyone knows that he's awful, though. I definitely wouldn't say he's overrated because nobody rates him.
I think if we'd done this a year ago, then
Yeah, he would have got.
Yeah, at the World Cup, Jesse Lingard he looked quality. Like, he looked class.
Yeah.
That goal
What Schweinsteiger?
Yeah.
That's a great shout.
Schweinsteiger coming in to United again. He just came in for a last payday when he probably had his best years in Germany, and wasn't particularly good for United, was he?
No.
But was regarded as one of the best players in the world at the time.
Yeah, didn't offer much at all.
Two I've got is Jack Wilshere. Again, I think loads of potential when he was younger. I know obviously really injury prone, which set him back a lot, but living off those years when he was at Arsenal, when he was a kid, doing really well. And again, same about Lingard. I put Ross Barkley. I think he's a good player, but really, really inconsistent. And again, treated as if he's a lot younger than he is, I think.
Yeah.
George, plenty of names there for you to pick.
Yeah, I think I like Schweinsteiger just because
Big name as well.
that's a big name. I'm going to go with
Put him in.
him.
Is that our last
Schweinsteiger.
United player then?
So yeah, you can't have any more United players.
I was
You're
just
done
thinking,
on that front.
we've got obviously David Luiz, Ozil, and Walcott, but David Luiz played for Chelsea. That's primarily.
You've got 2 Chelsea players and 2 Arsenal players now.
Okay.
But Team Allo, your pick is next.
Sorry, I'm lost. What?
You
Is
need a right back, a centre back, a left back, a centre mid, a left mid, and a striker.
Okay.
Let me know if you want any help, George. If you want any suggestions, let me know for any position. I've got a few up my sleeve.
I was thinking of going to left.
Going where?
Left back.
Yeah. The only name I did have in mind was Luke Shaw, similarly because he was another one that had loads of potential. Was going to be the next Ashley Cole, and he's similarly with a few others that we've had in there. They're now in their prime years, and he's still a good left back. Don't get me wrong, but I think he never lived up to the potential that people expected from him.
I'd agree with that.
Shaw's definitely, good shout.
I haven't really got any other left backs that come to mind.
The fullbacks are hard ones. We always struggle with fullbacks.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Shaw.
Yeah.
All right.
Luke Shaw at left back.
Yeah.
Shaw goes in at left back. And now Team Wado, you have the even harder job of finding another one.
Yeah, I got no idea.
This could cause uproar.
Oh no.
Phil Neville.
Definitely not. Premier League legend. Not a,
I don't mind
a
that.
chance.
Living in his brother's shadow?
Are we allowed Luke Shaw?
Yeah.
Have we got Schweinsteiger, Di Maria?
Oh.
Oh.
No.
He's a Southampton player.
You can't.
I was going to say, I don't think we can have him.
He's a Southampton player.
Well
For
remembered.
Maurizio Tarico. Maurizio Tarico of Tottenham was a dreadful left back who had quite a decent reputation.
Oh God.
Phil Neville spent most of his time centre mid, didn't he? At Everton, definitely. But played for England a bit of left back, gave away a penalty in a big game against Romania.
I just think like he's put in that category of the class of '92, is it?
Yeah.
and he's nowhere near the quality of the rest of them. That was my only argument, but yeah.
I don't think he's overrated though. I don't think anyone rates him. I don't think they don't compare him to Gary Neville as such. He was a great player, and in the position he played, he was a great player.
I think if he'd have stayed at United, then he would have been compared. But as you said, as John says, he was played in a different position at a different club. I wouldn't So he was overrated.
I also don't think Sir Alex would have got rid of him if he didn't think he was, if he thought he was up there with the rest as well.
Does anyone think Baines was overrated?
Well, he got an underrated
He
team.
got in the underrated.
Last week.
Well, I remember when he first came through. Was he at Wigan? I think when he first came through before he got his move, and he was. Everyone was saying he was going to be England's number one left back for years and years, and obviously he was up against some other good players, Ashley Cole and people like that. But he was good, but I don't think he ever quite lived up to the hype when he was younger. But yeah, he didn't have a bad career at all. I know I called Andy Carroll the camel. He's still a decent player, isn't he? But it's that gap between reputation and price tag and actual achievements. He just sort of summed up Everton, really. Just happy to be surviving, battling away in the Premier League. Never really won anything, did he? But he can't be overrated and underrated, can he?
Yeah. Well, Team Allo, you've got to we've got to come back to you because you've got to pick your left back again.
We were plain sailing. I was loving life.
Asuakoto?
Yeah. Oh, didn't Adam say?
Adam mentioned him last week.
He hated football. He had a smart car. He didn't even like football at all, and he was overrated. But he springs to mind. A couple of Spurs ones: Maurizio Tarraco and Asuakoto. You got any other potential?
I'm struggling to think of any overrated left back. It's the kind of position where you don't get praised that much, so it's hard to be
overrated. Because we're
overrated.
struggling with it, I'm going to open up the fullbacks. You can have two fullbacks from the same side playing on the other side, if you get what I mean. So you can have a right back playing at left back to make it easier. So they're two fullbacks rather than right back, left back.
I don't know if that massively helps us, to be honest, Alo.
But yeah,
unless you can think.
Wayne Bridge struggled at Chelsea a little bit when they signed him for decent money. He was never quite good enough.
Someone called him underrated last week. Was it you, Dave?
Yeah, I think I called him underrated. Just struggling to think of left backs.
I think we'll go with Asuakoto.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Asuakoto goes in left back. Adam mentioned him for underrated last week, but he's overrated this week.
Didn't like football. He can go in overrated, in my opinion.
So, Team Wado, you know how to pick of left back or full back. It might be easy. It could be quick.
Luke Shaw?
Yeah, just whack him in. I'm not happy about it, but it seems like the most viable option.
Goes in and left back, and you've now got another pick.
David, you get Stinker of the Week this week for that.
You're the one that picked him, Mallow.
I know that you're pretty set on Torres, Born, but one player hasn't been mentioned who came with so much hype from a foreign league is Radamel Falcao. Now, he came with massive potential, and he did not live up to it whatsoever. And Chelsea the season after was awful as well.
I can agree. Falcao was dreadful. But he was only on loan at both clubs, both Premier League clubs that he
had two
came to.
chances and didn't take them, either of them.
Yeah, but on loan, I just don't. He had not. Obviously,
yeah, I think on loan you can't really class them.
No, when you have two loan spells, two seasons, both clubs had options to buy as well.
Yeah, so do you know what? I do actually remember he came in to United. I think we had to pay something like 15 million.
You had to pay for a loan fee.
Yeah, so you know what, Wade? I'd probably agree with that. I think Falcao was bloody dreadful, wasn't he?
Murph, you got any opinions?
I don't have any other strikers. I had Wilfred Zaha, but that's about it. So I'd say Falcao happily. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. You weren't happy with Anelka, were you? There was also Balotelli that I had.
Well, we've got to think, if we go with Falcao, we can't pick any more United players. And on that left-hand side, I would have definitely gone with Memphis Depay.
Oh, yeah. It's a good shout.
So, personally, I'd go Anelka and then Memphis Depay.
Definitely not Anelka. He's not overrated.
Sorry, not allowed.
He is. 38 goals in 125 games. That is overrated.
Premier League top scorer at 08-09.
08-09. Anelka was unreal. He's such a good player.
Yeah, but he didn't for a top scoring season. He didn't even score that many. What was it? 18.
Sorry, I'm I'm cutting you off.
Let him have it. Let him have it.
Memphis Depay is a great shout. Do you got any left mids, Murph?
On my list, no, I don't.
I had Nasri, but it's...
I think he still did bits at Arsenal though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
First season at City was decent as well.
He was there. He was at City for years. He was just average the entire time.
If you honestly think about who's better out, Depay and Nasri, you're obviously going to say Nasri. Depay just couldn't do anything. He got the ball. His first touch was dreadful. It would always end up for a throw into the other team. So he literally did nothing for us.
I just don't think Anelka's overrated. If you want to go Anelka's fine.
No.
I've not allowed it.
No. Falcao's really bugging me.
I think if we go Falcao, we'll think of another left mid. I think, yeah.
I think we should go Depay.
We've already thought of another left mid.
Oh, but we can pick Depay now, can't we? It's our free choice. Yeah, I'd go Depay over Falcao. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but
wait, you have the final decision.
I just think Falcao was classed as world class before he came to United.
Depay was given the number 7. Was it the first player after Ronaldo to get given the number 7?
Depay was meant to be our next Ronaldo.
Yeah, what?
Exactly, big pressure on the kid.
Exactly, but that's it's overhyping, isn't it? It's the same as like you could say Butland. He had massive pressure on him to live up to massive media expectations, but he crumbled just like Depay did.
All right.
Wait, you have the final decision.
I'll go with my team on this one. I'll trust them. Go Depay.
Depay goes in at left back, and that is your United players. Left mid, sorry. And that is your all your United players used. So Team Davo, I'll come to you next. Well, Team Allo, sorry.
Team Allo.
Right back, centre back, centre mid, left mid, and a striker.
Are we done with United now? Yeah, because I would definitely say Nani was overrated.
Yeah.
Wait, where have we got a pick?
You're done with United.
Everyone's done with United, aren't they? So right back, I think Klein is overrated at right back. Glenn Johnson definitely overrated at right back.
Yeah.
What do you think about those two?
What position have we got to pick left midfield, or we pick any?
It's up to you, George.
Oh no, sorry, it has to be left midfield.
We have to pick left mid, don't we?
You've got 2 picks.
Someone I've got written down based on the money paid for him, Stuart Downing, when he moved to Liverpool. They paid 20 million for him, and at the time he was rated quite highly, and he flopped, quite frankly, at Liverpool.
Good shout.
The name I had written down.
Yeah, I think he's had a good career, Downing, but yeah, that Liverpool stint was under Dogley.
And that was when he was rated at his, because if you're going to pay 20 million at the time for a left midfielder, then you must be rating him quite highly.
Right. I think we'll go with that with Downing.
Downing at left mid. And now you can pick anywhere on the park. If you want to go to the fullbacks, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we'll go to right back then. Yeah, get him out of the way. Was it Glenn Johnson or Klein?
Klein and Johnson, John mentioned.
See, I think Johnson.
What do you think of those two?
I think Johnson was better than Klein was.
Probably has had a better career.
Definitely.
Klein again struggled with injuries. Had a few good seasons at Liverpool, but then just couldn't really get back to full fitness and stay in the team.
Yeah, Klein's another one of those that came out of Southampton, and like a lot of them, they went to Liverpool, and some of them did well, some of them didn't. Klein did start well, I think.
He did, yeah.
But the fact that, the teenagers coming in and taking his place.
Well, at one point he was like competing for an England spot, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'd say Klein over Johnson.
Yeah, I think we'll go with Klein.
Daniel Klein goes in at right back. And now, Team Wado, we come straight back to you for a right back.
They mentioned that Klein was competing for an England position. And I think the person he's competing against, Kyle Walker, I think he's overrated, personally.
I would agree with that, Murph, as well. Off the top of my head, I'd probably go with Kyle Walker.
I think he has pace, and that he's just lived off that his whole career, that he's just fast. Defensively, I don't think he's great. Going forward for City, yeah, he's good because of the way Guardiola plays. But as a player and the hype he's had, I think he's overrated.
Is
So,
he in the same bracket as Klein and Johnson, though? Not really. Two-time
don't
Premier
think
League
he's
winner.
underrated.
Johnson
I
was
don't think
Trent,
he's
really.
overrated.
I thought Johnson was alright. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think he's alright.
Good squad player as well. He can go in at centre back. Played centre back for England.
Johnson's not overrated for you, Matt, but Walker is. Walker's had a way better career.
We're not going him.
I think that's harsh on Kyle Walker.
Very harsh.
Yeah, but you're supposed to pick these big players. Like, I don't think Glenn Johnson was overrated. Well, it's up to you, Wade. If you don't want to go Kyle Walker, that's fine.
I'm just looking at the players that we've got and the teams that we can pick from. So we've got no Man City players, so Kyle Walker would fit. But I think that's incredibly harsh on him. We've got one Liverpool spot left, so Glenn Johnson would fit into that. But then you wouldn't be able to. Actually, you would be able to get.
Now, I thought Glenn Johnson for Portsmouth and Liverpool was a decent player. I don't think he was overrated at all.
He was on my list, the only right back out of my list originally. Glenn Johnson.
We can play left back at right back.
Think of another left back.
Only one that springs to mind. Do you know what? Yeah, he doesn't really play left back, but Tyrone Mings. But obviously, we've said.
No, I think
I've got a few names I can think of.
Go on,
Give
Tiz.
us your names.
A few Chelsea players. Jose Basingwa. No, listen. He won pretty much everything at Chelsea, but he was always very, very average. He started in that Champions League, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Got one. Micah Richards.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Simon's got the best of form.
That's a great
Micah
shout.
Richards was another player who had a lot of hype about him. With England as well. He was our next big thing. Was he a centre-back originally?
Yeah.
But did a bit of both.
They shoved him over to right-back because he wasn't a good enough centre-back in the end. And then he didn't live up
Zabaleta
to
displaced him.
Yeah, didn't live up to it. Went to Villa, and at Villa he was... Well,
Went to Fiorentina, didn't he?
Yeah. He got his first England cap at 19, so he was loads of potential ahead of him. But then, like you said, Wade just never fulfilled
it. He admitted himself, didn't he, that his attitude just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he leave the hype.
And he backed himself as well. He thought he was quality.
Yeah,
he was a big unit, wasn't he? He was a big unit, carrying a bit too much weight, I think.
Yeah.
Micah Richards goes in at right back. That is a good shout.
That's a great shout.
And you've now got 3 picks left. A centre back, a centre mid, and a striker.
We want to sort out our striker.
Yeah. This is very...
How many Liverpool players do we have left?
We can pick a Chelsea Torres. We can.
A Chelsea Torres.
What about Liverpool Firmino?
No.
No.
John, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Joe's opinion on this one.
Yeah, we had for the Vodoir fans out there, a bit of context. We had a bit of heat, didn't we, midweek on the old group chat about whether Firmino was overrated, and my argument was that I think anyone could really fill the boots of Firmino. I don't know.
God.
He's got a woeful scoring record for his position, and he's a forward meant to assist Mane and Salah, but even so, he doesn't have that great of an assist record either. I think, honestly, you could plop anyone, just re-sign Emil Heskey, and he would do the same job that Firmino does. And I think another thing about Firmino is he's so overhyped by fanboys on Twitter like Murph, little stupid flicks and tricks that he does. And honestly, I've seen 5-minute videos of one trick that he's done in one. It's absolutely ridiculous. He is the most overhyped player.
No, he's not.
On social media.
I disagree with you.
That I've ever seen.
No, he's not. Bro, the way he plays at Liverpool, only him could play that position. He plays at Liverpool.
No.
Yes, he's not a striker. He's not an actual striker. We signed him
he's
as
a false 9, isn't he? He's their false 9.
Yeah, he's a false 9.
Yeah, we signed him as a centre attacking mid. For me, Klopp pushed him to centre forward to play in that role, dropping back, allowing the wingers to go forward, and that's why we are the best team in the world right now. Because
of Firmino.
Because of Firmino.
Because the centre of how we play going forward.
Another thing that I would say is me and Murph had a little debate about who was better out of the front three of Mane, Firmino, and Salah in comparison to Rooney, Tevez, and Ronaldo. And the fact that Murph had the courage to say that Firmino is in the same bracket as Wayne Rooney, that in itself, absolute outrage.
When did I say that?
That is a complete.
We're making the comparison. Rooney
When did I say
played as
that?
a centre forward. Firmino played as a centre forward. So
That's an argument for another day.
Yeah, it is.
I want your overrated striker.
Who did they have up front? Sorry,
They've got Shevchenko at the minute.
I want Balotelli.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Balotelli is a player like Ozil who has the quality, doesn't use it. He's lazy, he's arrogant, and he's toxic. I just think with the hype that he had around him, he should have been a much better player than he was.
Yeah,
Do you want to put him in there?
He didn't go to Liverpool for a lot of money though, did he? 16 million. That's pennies in today's.
I think he scored 3 goals for us.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's not great.
I know he's bad, but I'm just thinking.
Balotelli, please.
Super Mario goes up front alongside Andy Carroll. That is some strike force. Don't know about the work rate, but we'll see. Now, Team Aloe, you need your second striker.
This one just come to me actually. I remember Roberto Soldado when he signed for Spurs. He was meant to be like the answer to their goal scoring problems. He was pretty useless.
scored penalties, and that was about it, wasn't it?
I'm not sure if it was before Kane was really coming through.
So I was just about to say this. I went to watch Villa v Spurs with my mate, who's a Villa fan, and Soldado played up front with Adebayor that day, and Kane was on the bench, and this was the season Kane was just about to break through. So it was like the 70th minute, Tottenham were losing, Spurs fans singing Harry Kane, we want Harry Kane. They subbed Soldado off, who'd had a poor game for Kane. Kane came on and scored 2 goals, and that was the start of Harry Kane, and that was the end of Soldado basically.
Says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
West Brom fan going to watch a Villa game.
He's scouting, Dave.
Yeah, scouting for the podcast.
Also,
all for this moment.
Another name, just looking over Wado's shoulder, Berahino. He was someone.
Yeah.
A lot of hype.
A lot of hype. Too much
He
hype.
fancied himself more than he was really good for.
He was just.
I said
in Belgium now.
I said this to you, Aloe. I thought when I watched him that season, he was breaking through. He looked world class to me. He's the best player I've ever seen live.
Could we have Fellaini at Everton?
Yeah.
And Sanchez,
Yeah.
is he eligible for us or not? Alexis Sanchez was overrated.
Sanchez would go down as an Arsenal player.
Yeah, well, I think Fellaini, he was so out of his depth at United after doing all right for Everton, but probably not as much as his reputation deserved. What do you reckon?
I think Alexis Sanchez has to be considered by both teams after that move to United. I think he was quality at Arsenal, really, really good at Arsenal, but he did not cut it at United. And it was, again, a big name, big move, and he flopped.
Would you put Sanchez at striker? We already picked left mid, haven't we?
Yeah, he's
He number 10, isn't he?
Up top.
Yeah, he can be striker.
It's just whether we could have him as, because the problem is he was good at Arsenal, so could we have him as an Arsenal player?
Class Arsenal.
He was so good at Arsenal.
Yeah.
But I think he is one of the most overrated after what happened at United.
Yeah,
I think people might not like that though, because he was really good at Arsenal.
Yeah, if we're looking
Even though he
at
was
Premier
rubbish at
League,
United.
the whole Premier League.
Benteke overrated.
That's a great shout.
Really good shout, yeah.
Fellaini, it's all the Belgians.
All the Batshuayi.
Yeah, I mean Fellaini was just an on-running joke when he went to United, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I like
It became ironic as well. Like he was Mourinho's go-to guy at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ollie, I don't know what you think of Benteke, but in terms of where his reputation is and where his ability is, but
he was so good at Villa. He was so good at, but he was consistent at Villa as well, which is a shame. But I think the move to Liverpool, like other players like Torres going to Chelsea and stuff like that, it's just the same thing. It's just lost.
I think we signed Benteke to try and to try and replace Sturridge at the time. Or was it Suarez? I can't really remember.
He
But
signed
he just
15, 16.
He just didn't fit the way that Liverpool played at all. I think he scored one good
Balotelli.
goal against United at Old Trafford, the overhead kick, and that's all he did at Liverpool. He was terrible other than that.
That's a class goal, to be fair, though.
We'll go with Benteke then.
Yeah, I like that.
Benteke is your striker, and you now have the chance to centre back or centre mid.
Do you remember Alan Smith? He sort of started out at Leeds as a striker, and then he was being talked about as being the next Roy Keane in centre mid. And he had a couple of bad injuries, but he never really lived up to the hype.
Was that the blonde one, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wasn't bad, but to be talked about as the next Roy Keane,
Yeah,
he was never going to do that.
Newcastle, yeah.
Yeah, he was all right, but he just faded away and never quite achieved what people.
That's a
expected
really
him to.
good shout.
What was it? We got centre back and centre mid to fill.
Centre back and centre mid to fill, yeah.
We could put him centre mid if you wanted to. But you got any other centre mids up your sleeve?
No, not really.
I've got Diaby written down at Arsenal because he was deemed the next Vieira almost, wasn't he? And then
injuries.
Had the injury. It's again that same thing where injuries are setting back their career. I had Sissoko at Tottenham as well after that Euro campaign he had, and the season at Newcastle. Got the big move to Tottenham and didn't really live up to potential.
To be fair, he's been quite good at Spurs considering the position change as well.
Yeah,
He just gets a lot of stick for being a bit of a donkey.
Yeah.
Fernando was poor at City
Yeah,
when he came in.
Oh yeah.
He
But
struggled.
everyone thought they were hoping it'd be another Fernandinho, I guess.
Yeah,
I think Rodri as well this year hasn't been very good.
That's a bit
Yeah, he's
harsh.
been poor. I think he's been quite poor.
The
I
amount
like
of money
Diaby.
he paid for.
Diaby.
It's just
I
a
do
shame.
do
Diaby, it's just a shame. Like it wasn't really his fault.
Abu Diaby, Alo?
I don't know. I feel like we've got a lot of like flops rather than overrated players. You know what I mean?
Barkley could go in there, couldn't he? Have we got room for Barkley?
I said Barkley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with Barkley actually.
Yep. Ross Barkley completes your centre mid. And now, Team Wado, you have the chance to fill out your team. Centre back and centre mid.
Centre mid, I'm struggling.
I've got
Schneiderlin?
2 names written down. I mentioned him earlier. They weren't bought for massive price tags, but I got Harry Winks and Dele Alli.
Dele Alli, I wouldn't agree with Dele Alli.
No,
But then at the same time, I don't think Harry Winks is rated that highly at all. No, think about it. Dele Alli, everyone, he just hit the ground running at Spurs. I think scored I think nearly 15 goals a season. Was labelled the next Lampard, and then disappeared for 3 years. He had a great World Cup.
Disappears a bit harsh.
I think that's quite harsh on Ali. Hasn't he got, for his age, in terms of goals and assists so far,
Yeah.
he's done better than
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. He's still young as well.
I think Barkley was a great shout. It's tough to think after that, isn't it? I would say Schneiderlin maybe when he was time at United.
Quite a lot for him as well.
Yeah, we did.
But you can't have a United player.
I got Jack.
But he played for Everton as well, didn't he?
Everton and
Rodwell's
Southampton.
a very good shout, man.
Jack
Rodwell.
He went
Is he?
to-
Oh,
he went to
God,
City.
yeah.
They thought he was incredible, and then he went to Everton then City, and then he just flopped, didn't it? But then that's like Alo said, he's more of a flop than overrated. He wasn't.
he was.
No,
No, because
he
everyone-
was very highly
Everyone,
rated.
everyone thought he was going to fill that midfield spot for
That's
years.
very
I think
good
the
shout.
idea of being a flop is part of being overrated, though, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
Yeah,
your
definitely.
expectations are so high of someone, and then when they don't succeed,
Yep.
it's a flop, isn't it?
I think
Tyrrell, what
Rodwell's a great shout.
What did you think of John Obi Mikel?
It
Huge
was weird.
reputation.
Sorry, Tiz, go.
I think the issue was it was all that controversy around him signing for Chelsea or signing for United. I think he was pictured with a United shirt, and he was in a midfield. He was competing in a midfield with Lampard, Essien, Ballack, So you've got 3 legends there. I can't remember who else we
Makelele.
play. Makelele. So you've got to fill those boots, and it's almost impossible when those are 4 of the greatest midfielders of all time. In terms of quality, he was never particularly good, but he was always in and around the team. Like, he never came close to leaving, really, I don't think, until he left.
Yeah.
Whether he was overrated,
No one really rated him.
I think maybe there was a bit of expectation on him because of there probably was a bit of expectation on him because of the midfielders he was amongst. So I'd probably agree. He was probably a bit overrated.
So, Anderson at United was another one that was overrated. Do you remember him?
I loved Anderson.
I'd agree with that. I think he's overrated.
I loved Anderson.
I thought he was a good player.
I thought he was. I think he was. Yeah. I won't do the debate, obviously, because very passionate about Anderson, but I think probably Rodwell is the best shout, to be honest.
I've come to we can't have Rodwell.
Why?
Because we already got 2 Man City players.
Everton.
I'll put him in as an Everton.
Oh, wicked! What Rodwell? Stick him in.
Rodwell goes in at centre mid, and now you just need a centre back to complete team.
This is tough.
The only other centre back I got is Tyrone Mings.
One name that comes to me who came to the Premier League with big expectations is Mustafi.
Yes,
I would say.
You can't have an Arsenal player.
Same as Lovren, though. I think most people. Oh, we can't have Mustafi anyway. I was going to say that most people see him as an awful player now anyway. Same as Lovren. Like, no one actually rates him.
Yeah.
I think Davinson Sanchez is another good shout for Spurs.
No.
But he's
22.
Yeah, but
22. He's a unit.
I don't think Sanchez can be considered overrated at this age.
I can't think of anyone else.
There must be loads.
I can think of one.
Jody and Lescott.
Can't have
he did. I think he. This is tough because we can't have any more United players, can we?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Some names out. Just
Who did you have, Alo?
Who are you thinking, Bourne? Put it in then. From United.
It doesn't matter, Dave. Doesn't matter. Alo,
You've not got any room any day.
you had someone. Who do you reckon, Alo?
Alo, don't tell him.
Oh, what about Jonathan Woodgate?
Oh, what a shout! What a shout!
He went to Real Madrid, and I think on his debut he scored an own goal, got a red card, and he's never played for Real Madrid
That's in the Spanish league, though.
He was still overrated.
To get a move to Real Madrid, you've got to be overrated.
Exactly. Yeah, to get a move to Real Madrid.
But in the Prem, he was decent, wasn't he? At Middlesbrough.
I think people remember.
He wasn't Real Madrid worthy.
Yeah.
He had a lot of injury problems, didn't he, Woodgate?
Yeah.
A lot of injury problems. Ruined by
I think
injury, really.
that's another great shout from you, Murph.
Yeah, I'm not the only other person. Oh no, he's City. No, I was going to say Di Michelis, but yeah, I don't even know who Woodgate is. Actually,
Surely you're
Jonathan Woodgate.
Yeah, Wade.
Yeah, go on, Tiz. We'll go with him.
He was back like one of the best England centre backs back in the day, wasn't he?
Wade, you're not selling
Jonathan
us very good journos here.
And our team, Alo, you just need one more centre back to complete your team, and you've got a big name, I assume.
He wasn't that good, actually.
Who
I
was
was
it?
thinking David Luiz, just because he's
We've got him.
We've already got him.
Got him.
Team Wade already have
Good job I kept my mouth shut.
We've got room
So-
for Otamendi, we said earlier.
Stones. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
We could have those two as a partnership.
He cost quite a bit.
I just think they're both a bit rash and very overrated.
I've packed Otamendi a lot on FIFA as well lately. I'm getting a bit fed up with it.
I would have said Blanc, but we can't have United, can we?
No.
You're not. But no, don't worry. No, I'm not going to speak.
What about Dyer at centre half?
Eric Dyer.
Overrated?
Oh
I
yeah.
thought he's more of a centre midfielder, though, isn't he?
He's played centre
I'll
half
put
for
him down as
Leicester
both.
at Tottenham.
I'd
Centre
allow
mid
you
more
to
for
have
England,
them
but
both.
he's played a lot of centre back for Tottenham, and
I'd be.
He's another one
Dyer.
that don't know whether he's actually got that much of a reputation or not, but
I don't know why I didn't think of him actually.
I'd say after he banged in that free kick against Russia at Euro 2016, he had a bit of a reputation.
That tackle on Ramos, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone was
I think
buzzing
it's
over it.
awful.
he now prefers tackling fans, doesn't he? Than players.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would allow you to have Dyer in there if you wanted them. Aloe, you look stumped.
Can't think of anything else really.
Titus Bramble's just terrible. Wouldn't say overrated, but he's one of the worst ever centre backs in Premier League history.
With one of the best names, though.
Yeah.
Matt, got anything to say?
I was Otamendi, then Dyer's a good shout as well. Like it's the same thing as Stones. Is that English? The whole just because they're English. And
Schneiderlin. You could have him at Everton.
You just need a centre back now, no centre mids.
Right.
I'd go Dyer.
Who do you think's more overrated, Dyer or Otamendi?
I think Otamendi's a better player than Dyer,
Yeah, I think Otamendi's harsh.
but
Yeah, I think he's quite a good centre half, to be honest.
I think because of that whole English background again of Dyer is that there is so much more expectation on his shoulders because people want him to do well. That I think people then think he's better than he actually is.
All right, we'll go with Dyer.
Eric Dyer completes your team. Now, we're going to have to speed through this bit because this has gone on very long. Team Wado and Team Aloe, you now have the chance to swap one player from your team if you want to.
Yeah.
I'm happy with ours, too.
I'm very happy with ours.
No swaps this week? Okay,
No
now your
swaps.
managers. Who's going to be the gaffer? I'll start with Team Wado.
Moisey.
Do they get first pick?
I think it's them, Tiz. I think it is them.
Oh, sorry. Team Aloe, you get first pick.
I had someone in mind. I had Mark Hughes because he managed Wales. He's managed some big clubs as well in the Premier League. He always seems to get another job. He always gets sacked, and then he'll always manage to get himself another Premier League job. He's just not really done anything for any of the clubs, I don't think.
He did well at Blackburn, didn't he? At the start of his managerial career, I'm pretty sure.
That's it,
Avoided
really.
relegation from
He's
But
obviously at Man City, where just as they were getting rich.
I think Mourinho's overrated now. The post Man United, well, during and after United, Mourinho has been overrated.
Thank you.
I
What do
could
you think
agree with
about him?
that. I don't know.
Obviously,
it's one of
when
those,
he was
isn't
in
it?
his prime, he was unbelievable. But
Yeah, if you look at what he did in the whole Premier League, what he did at Chelsea was quality, but again, had the money to do it. I think what he did at United was not.
Yeah,
living up to
similar
expectations.
to Sanchez, like he was brilliant at Arsenal, but rubbish at Man United. It's just difficult when you look at their whole Premier League career.
Torres, brilliant at Liverpool, terrible at Chelsea. Well, struggled at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Anyone else, Matt? Have you got any?
I think Hughes had the City job when they weren't that big a club. If they certainly weren't the money spenders that they are now. I think he started bringing a few big names in, but he knew he was going to get replaced at some point. So I don't think he got that job when it was the job it is now. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But he has had some decent jobs though.
He keeps getting jobs as well.
That's
Stoke,
all I'm. Yeah. He had Southampton recently.
Southampton.
Like he keeps getting sacked, but still manages to get another Premier League job every time.
There's
Well,
like four managers who are exactly the same like that. It's just the four that just keep getting in.
Don just mentioned Alan Pardew.
I think Pardew's overrated.
Oh God, he is the worst.
Yeah.
I don't have any words for him.
I
It
put
was
him in
that
the same.
season at Newcastle where he had all the French boys in and they did really well.
11-12.
Living off that
What's
again.
the one who Avram Grant also overrated? Avram Grant. How did he keep getting jobs? How did he get big jobs like that? He went Avram Grant. I've got no idea how he managed to get his job.
Aloe, you ultimately have the final decision.
I'm torn between Hughes and Pardew, so I'll let you two decide for me. Out of those two, what would you go for?
I'd go Pardew but only because I think Hughes had more seasons in the Prem that were better than Pardew did, and they're kind of rated on a similar level.
I'll go Pardew for the touchline dance in the cup final.
Yeah.
Alan Pardew is your manager. And then Team Wado, who do you want?
I know Murph wants Moyes.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't?
want your current West Brom manager, Slaven Bilic.
No, no way.
Absolutely
not.
I know you won't get picked because obviously he's your manager, but at West Ham he got carried by Payet. As soon as Payet left, they were facing relegation. They were nearly fighting relegation. Got sacked. Then he went to, I think, the Saudi League. Al Ittihad, I think he went to, and just don't. He's never found his place after that. Like, he's doing all right at West Brom.
Seems to be a Saudi Arabian football connoisseur, Murph.
Murph, he's changed the way that he's changed our club, literally.
Maybe I just haven't watched Championship football enough this season to judge, but I think he just got found out when Dimitri Payet left West Ham.
His tactics, honestly gets it right every game. Every game gets it right.
Well, Wado's not going to allow that one, that's for sure.
Right,
Bourne, what ideas have you got?
Yeah, go on, Bourne.
Mine would have been David Moyes, simply because he was dubbed to be the next Alex Ferguson. Obviously, Alex Ferguson, I'm sure we can all agree, is the best manager to ever live. That is literally non-biased. He was just obviously incredible. And to be dubbed the next Alex Ferguson, and to be handpicked by Alex Ferguson, and to have the atrocious time at United that he did, I think, oh God, that just speaks volumes. I know he was decent at Everton. Obviously, he didn't win anything, but he did keep them in the top half of the table, etc. But I think David Moyes has got to get in there purely because his time at United was just diabolical.
I just think with Moyes, the next Man United manager, it was always going to be a suicide mission.
Yeah.
It was always going
Little did they know
Poison
the next
chance.
5 were going to be suicide missions.
Yeah.
True.
But it was
Van
always
Gaal was terrible at United as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I would say Van Gaal also was.
Well, there was big expectation on him because of what he did with Holland at the Euros.
Yeah.
And the World Cup, sorry.
but that was
World
about
Cup,
it,
yeah.
I think he would be more than Moyes.
The only other name I could think of was Unai Emery when he went to Arsenal. I think at PSG won the league. I think it was twice with PSG, but it's not a very hard league for PSG to win. Went to Arsenal and then got found out to be.
He did the Europa League with Sevilla, though, didn't he?
I think 16-17, PSG didn't even win the league. Monaco did.
He lost to Monaco, didn't? Yeah. When he went to Arsenal, he just got found out to be a terrible manager. He just was, and then he had to fill similar to Moyes and Ferguson. He had to fill Wenger's boots after him being a 15 years.
Yeah,
longer than that. Sorry, it's just Emery for me.
Yeah,
I'd go with Murph there. Yeah,
I think just for spite as well, I'm gonna mention Tony Pulis.
Not a fan?
Honestly, all right, tactic wise, to keep a team up, all right, fair enough. He's done it, but honestly, just going against footballing terms, he's just
Anti-football.
Yeah, he's just honestly, he's apparently very toxic as well behind the scenes. All the players, as soon as he left, doing interviews, and they did one about him and Pardew, and they said that Pardew was a nightmare, but they said Pulis was worse, much worse. He completely just made everything toxic and brought everyone down, and it just wasn't fun to play football. They didn't want to play for West Brom. So he's another one, but I do agree with Emery because he had massive expectations coming into Arsenal and didn't get it right.
Final decision then, Wade. Unai Emery?
You guys happy with Emery over Pulis and Van Gaal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unai Emery is your manager. Right. I'll run you through your teams then quickly. Team Allo, you've got Jack Butland in goal, Klein, Stones, Dyer and Asuakoto is a back four. Di Maria, Schweinsteiger, Barkley and Downing as a midfield. And Shevchenko and Benteke up front. And then Alan Pardew is your manager. And then Team Wado, you've got Kepa in goal, Mika Richards, David Luiz, Jonathan Woodgate, Luke Shaw, Theo Walcott, Jack Rodwell, Ozil and Depay. And then up front, Andy Carroll and Mario Balotelli with Unai Emery as your manager. Very quickly, Ollie, are you confident your team wins?
Never be confident on Vodoir Sports.
Well, you don't know who's going to interfere with the vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone on that Park Life Sport account and tamper with it. Who knows? Yeah, I think that's, in terms of overrated, I think every single one of them fits into that category. I think it's a strong team.
Hello, are you confident you can take the win?
Yeah, you never know with the Vodoir deals.
Hello, you look worried.
No, I think we'll be all right. I think it'll be close again.
Yeah, another close one. Well, let us know on the poll on Twitter. We'll have that up in the coming days. So, Team Aloe or Team Wado, who wins this week? Let us know in the comments below. Leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much to John Palmer for joining us.
Cheers, John.
Pleasure.
Good job.
Thanks, John.
And
Enjoyed it.
Joe, I'll hand over to you to close out the show.
Are you sure you want me to do this when JP's here, Tiz?
Yeah, go on.
All right. Okay, sports fans. As always, we do it for the fans. We do it for the fans of sport. We do it for the fans of Vodoir Sports.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style.